Good day everyone. We are BS Development Communication 3A from Group 1 and we will be discussing attribution. Here are the 4 objectives of our report.
Attribution theory as defined by Myers is how people explain others' behavior. For example, by attributing it either to internal dispositions or to external situations. Franzoy considered attribution as the process by which people use information to make inferences about the causes of behavior or events.
Bernard Wenner focuses attribution theory on achievement. He identified ability, effort, task, difficulty, and luck as the most important factors affecting achievements. Attribution theory explained the difference of achievement in any motivation, more particularly between high and low achievement.
Heather presents explanation into 2 categories. First, personal attribution. An attribution to internal characteristics of an actor, such as ability, personality, mood, or effort. For example, when an athlete goes on to boycott, angry fans can blame the players for being greedy. Second, situational attribution. An attribution to factors external to an actor, such as the task, other people, or luck. For example, angry fans would probably find fault with the players, coach, sponsors, or outside societal and economic forces.
Learned helplessness, Myers and Watson et al. Cited in Approval 2005, more or less agree that individuals who continually fail to exercise coping control rare experiencing helplessness. Those who fail to use effective coping may result in decrease in intellectual activities, such as learning and thinking, and increase in negative emotions such as fear, anxiety, and depression. Learned helplessness, moreover, explains that individual distress events have lack of control due to the following attributions as described below. Number 1. Internal external. An attribution with which the thought is the cause for failure but external. For example, for success at control was, I cannot this and it is entirely my fault. Is internal and I cannot control this is so is not my fault. Number 2. Stable and unstable. An attribution with which the thought as the cause is stable for failure but unstable for success at control. For example, I cannot control this because I am not smart enough. Stable. And I cannot control this because I have not been getting enough sleep lately is unstable. So the third last is global specific. An attribution with which the thought as the cause of global for failure but specific for success at control. I am not incompetent at everything in global and I really fall apart when I think a science test is specific. In other words, the attribution theory suggests that depression is likely to follow the helplessness in the athletes who have attributed negative events to stable, global, and internal causes.
Kelly's theory of causal attribution or covariation model. Attribution theory aims to explain how people attribute causes to events or behaviors and assess how this attribution affects their future behavior. The nature of attribution theory explained how attribution theory is formed from Navy psychology and has evolved through 2 primary theoretical models, Kelly's model and Wiener's model, many attribution biases are discussed, along with an explanation of how people misattribute the reason of some events in order to protect their self-esteem or maintain the appearance of having effective control over their lives. Harold Kelly proposed a covariation model of the scientific explanation in three reasonable factors such as consensus, distinctiveness, consistency.
Fundamental attribution error. Fundamental attribution error occurs when people observe others. The people is primary reference point. When people observe themselves, they are aware of the forces acting upon their own behavior. Thus, the attribution of others' behavior are more likely to focus on the person they see, not the situational forces acting upon that person that people may not be aware. People are trying to understand and explain what happens in social settings. They tend to perceive behavior as a significant factor. They tend to explain behavior in terms of internal disposition, such traits, abilities, and motives as against external situation factors. Here are the four main reasons for fundamental attribution error. Number 1, the lack of awareness. If you do not know that a person is being threatened, then you are far more likely to assume they have a nervous disposition. This can easily happen when the situation is not physically apparent, such as when a person is in the first day of new job. Second is the unrealistic expectation. If I believe that a teacher is all-knowing, then I expect their first lesson to be as good as their 100. Likewise, if they have just taught a lesson that bombed, even if he is aware of these factors, he expects the teachers perform consistently. The third factor was inflated categorization. My expectation of the teacher are made worse if I expect all teachers to be equally competent. Likewise, if a person categorizes all questions as showing that other person does not know things, then a person might assume that when the teacher asks the student question, it is because the teacher does not know the answer. The last one was incomplete corrections. For example, I can further infer incorrectly about the teacher's questions, such as they can asking the wrong question and thus they do not know their subject.
Biases and attribution. Fritz Haller considered the point of view of native psychology or common sense psychology that people think somewhat like a scientist in making attributions about the causes of people's behavior. Attribution theorists believe that in many instances, people do not follow the simple logic of basic attributional principles. Aside from fundamental attribution error or correspondence bias as discussed earlier, there are a number of shortcomings in applying these principles and numbers of biases that can disrupt logical attributions. The first one is self-serving biases, the tendency that people have to attribute positive outcomes to their own behavior. Example, I won because I am a fast runner, and negative outcomes to situational causes. Example is I lost because the track was slippery. The second one is self-fulfilling prophecies, beliefs that necessary to evoke behavior that confirms the initial opinion or expectation of the events. It is an expectation, a positive or negative about something or someone that can affect a person's behavior in a way that leads those expectations to become a reality. Next is motivational biases. People tend to make more favorable self-serving and one-sided attributions for their own behavior. It is defined as those in which judgment are influenced by the desirability or undesirability